This is You Heard 31, y'all. So welcome back to our You Heard. It's been a minute since we've done an official You Heard, but this is an exciting one. We wanted to bring in the newly formed and uh, very, of course, super excited to introduce the yAxis DAO Council. Um, Try saying that three times fast. And with everything that's been going on in the market and with all the uncertainty that's out there, what we wanted to do was bring back, you heard, to show the world, show our community, certainly, what we've been up to, what our plan is, and why we are focused on continuing to build and trying to ignore the distractions of the market that we're in, right? I think it goes without saying we are in a down market, but I think that speaks to our strength because while we've been in the past gotten criticisms about having maybe a bit of a slower, more mindful approach to how we roll out vaults or strategies. We do want to stress it was all in the name of risk mitigation, from smart contracts to capital management to the yield, that how we generate yield. um, it's all been in service of making sure that we do have this discipline and that we are responsible stewards of user funds. And now that we're here in a down market, it is giving us a chance to really shine, to really continue to build product, to continue to adapt to market conditions, and certainly continue to really focus on revenue generation, right? With our capped tokenomics, with our capped token supply, and with our focus on disciplined capital management, which includes not just the cash on hand, but also our tokens and everything that the tokens mean to us, right? Emissions, rewards. It is the lifeblood of our governance platform, right? Trying to make sure that we are very, very mindful of how we distribute our capital, how we put our capital to work as well. So, with all that said, I've bought ourselves enough time here. So, officially, we are kicking off. We have everybody from the council here. So let's kick off. Welcome you to You Heard 31, y'all. Happy Friday. We are really excited to talk to you all again. Thanks for joining. And we do have Mr. Big Poppy here, as per usual, on our You Heards to kick things off. Poppy.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mister, and happy Friday to everyone. So what I'm going to do is introduce you to our new DAO Council that was voted in via YIP about a month ago. So for Council 1, this council is focused on project operations. We voted in RT.ETH. RT comes to us with a many years of program operations experience. And he's already been a very valuable partner in working with the existing champions project team to get the rest of us up to speed. Council 2, that's public relations marketing. That is yAxis Squidsteed coming to us from Squid DAO. Council 3 is community management, and that's me. Council 4, that is our engineering and development council. That is Mr. Timmy Toes, who unfortunately was unable to join. He is overseas in a later time zone, but he will be listening to this later. And I want to note, really excited having Timmy on the team. He's actually one of the auditors also from C4 team that audited one of the new features we're going to be talking about here shortly for yAxis. For Council 5, we have Mr. Abu Chino, who's coming to us with a wealth of traditional finance experience. Council 6 is our council for Ethereum. Now, some of you who didn't maybe participate in that YIP may be saying, well, hey, what's a council for Ethereum? And that's just as we grow, as we go multi-chain, we also want to make sure that we stay focused on the most important DeFi chain, which is Ethereum. And so Misam is our council representative for that council, and he comes with a wealth of experience across many projects in Ethereum, and he's going to be our advisor to make sure that we remain hyper-focused, laser-focused, even as we expand on ensuring that Ethereum stays, very important and on our short list. And then yes, so that is the new council. Now, I wanted to step in just for a minute for anyone that's listening in. We're going to be a little bit honest here, right? The market, not just crypto markets, all markets are just a little bit scary right now. There's a lot of upheaval, a little bit of volatility, and this follows a few months of downtrend, right? And the short answer there is one, don't be scared of this. This is normal. Markets are cyclical. They go up, they go down. Waves of greed and fear. Now, what I think is very promising with where we're at is a lot of people, a lot of investors, a lot of economists are thinking that most of the pain should be over. That we've spent the past 3 months pricing in what you're seeing now, the high inflation, and then the response that a lot of governments are having to that high inflation is very likely mostly priced in. And so I think the floor is probably very close on this downtrend. But in any case, we just want you to know that, this isn't unusual. If you're new to crypto, you're a little bit, stressed about it. You want to talk through maybe, more of the technicals related to the market, where it's going, then please hop into Discord, hop into Telegram, hit up the moderators or hit up the DAO Council. And some of the guys here have been investing and trading for decades. So we're more than happy to talk through that with you. Now, for the next part of this, this is a slightly new format. And so the DAO Council is going to start taking the lead on providing community updates, and not just through the Yaherd. We'll also be publishing project reports, transparency reports. We're going to be very open and active in communicating and engaging with the community, because I want to stress this. This is very important. We are the community. We were voted in by the community. We're just investors, same as you guys. Anyone that's listening in, no better, no worse. And of course, we want to see things succeed. We bring a lot of different backgrounds with a lot of relevant expertise. And so, our number one concern is always making sure that you guys are informed and that you feel good about the direction of the project. For our first update, normally this would be RT for the operation side of the house, but because he's unavailable today, Mr. I believe you're going to cover down for him today. And did I lose you, Mr.?
Yeah, you lost me to the mute button, actually. So
welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, I can pinch it for RT, no problem. I was saying, looking forward to hearing RT's voice on future Heard, but for today, certainly, I can definitely step up for him. Before I do, though, Poppy, I did want to just kind of, going on what you're saying about the importance of the DAO Council and how it came to be. Just want to reiterate that everything we do is community-minded, right? The team itself is community sourced, from myself to down to our devs, right? This is a community project. We can go as far as even saying it is a community-run project. It certainly is a community-owned project, right? And to that point right there, the DAO council that we have now adds that extra bit of formalizing processes, right? Making sure that we foster the community, making sure that we can distill all the feedback from all these different channels that we're monitoring into something that we can turn into an action plan, right? And to that end, the DAO Council does serve to keep the team accountable. But keep in mind that we are all community members. We all started off in the Discord or the Telegram, and just through the sheer, just straight up contributing over time, making more, greater and greater contributions over time, we did have the opportunity to up level in the community to actually become formal contributors, right? So all that to say, do encourage everybody, jump in the Discord, jump in the Telegram. Discord is where we're very active, but we are also highly engaged on Telegram as well. So yeah, as Poppy said, please do shoot us a message. So with excuse me, with that, let me just go into some project operations updates. So I know everybody's been looking for, information on what's coming next, when are we going to release, things like that. So let's address that right now, okay? From a roadmap perspective, from a milestones perspective, just keeping this reasonably near term, where we're going is into the multi-chain world, right? And with that, our first multi-chain target, our next blockchain that we'll be launching on is Avalanche. Okay, so what we're doing is we're going to be taking our V3 core architecture and deploying that on Avalanche. The goal there is to reduce all the friction that we see on Ethereum mainnet, and that's to say, really, it is the gas fees, right? For anybody that's less than a sizable or a big bag holder, the gas fees really are prohibitive to retail traders really using our protocol. So one solution to that is to go onto these other chains that are super frictionless, right? In other words, it's pretty much free gas. It's so cheap you can just do transactions on a whim, right? So that is where we are focused near term. But that's not to say that we're letting our Ethereum mainnet footprint just sit there idly by. The very next step we're going to be taking, even before deploying on Avalanche, is to expand and add new vaults onto our Ethereum footprint. Okay, and those new vaults will be targeted at Frax, Try Crypto 2, and CVXE. And we're really excited for those vaults. We're really excited for the yield that we can generate on those vaults. But certainly, as a team member, speaking as with my team member hat on now, really excited for the revenue potential, right, that these new vaults are going to bring in. So we'll be doing that. We're hoping to do that early next week. Okay. There are a lot of development priorities. There's a lot of various tasks in our pipeline. So we are trying to juggle that, right? And anything can happen, but we're ready to go on ETH vaults. We're doing final checks right now, and pending any findings that could delay us a little bit, we are planning to launch our ETH vaults early next week. Okay. And so that will be basically followed up by maybe I should let Squid Steed speak to a little bit of the marketing plan there. So let me stop myself there. So just to reiterate, next step is going to be our ETH vaults. We're expanding. From there, we'll be going on to Avalanche. And the great thing about Avalanche is it's still very early days out there, right? And to that point, we're getting even more excited than we were before, because we're speaking to potential ecosystem partners, right, on Avalanche. And what we're starting to see is there's a lot of potential out there for generating or acquiring TVL that does generate us revenue, right? And because it's early, we do have the opportunity to position ourselves not just really strategically with the right partners, but also position ourselves as launch partners, right? As flagship partners. And we're talking through everything from partnering with folks that, for example, do DAO services, to yield opportunities out there, to even becoming maybe a white label yield service for some projects, right? And that's not to say that these will come to fruition, but just the fact that these conversations are happening right now, it's very, very exciting. So that's Avalanche, right? Super excited for Avalanche, but what we're all focused on really is our big revenue generating engine that's just over the horizon. And that is our borrowing and lending feature. Okay. And just to tee that up a little bit without going into the specifics, we'll be offering a self-repaying loan product. Okay. And we'll be plugging that right into our core competency, which is our D3 vaults, which generate impressive yield. And what that's going to allow us to do is to actually repay loans on a fairly, short repayment horizon, but also allows us to offer a higher LTV. So again, I'll stop there without getting too deep into that, but we are already code complete on Borrow, the Borrow lending feature. Okay, what we're working on right now is patching findings that came out of our C4 audit, and the findings are great, right? We actually love the depth and breadth of the findings that the C4 crew, the Code Arena crew, are able to give us on our code. The other side of that coin is it is more work, right? Because they do find they do give a lot of feedback on the code, and we want to make sure that we're really, really tight on that before we launch. So right now we are patching the code. After that, we'll be going into code review on the patches. Once we merge that, it's just about testing and stand up. But I'll stop there. We'll continue to talk about that as we get more closer to launch on that one. But we do plan to preview that, and we plan to reveal that in a stepwise fashion. Get everybody excited, hopefully as excited as the team is, as the council is, as the community is certainly, but more to come on that. One final piece on an operations update is we are focused on making sure that we not only have the pieces in place to be successful for the rest of 2022 in terms of code and product, but we are really making sure that we have the resources in place, right? Resources in terms of tooling, but also resources in terms of, people, right? Folks that are able to contribute. So we are actually in a bit of a hiring mode. We are looking for a content writer. We are looking for new moderators, right, to help Poppy and Tisk here stay on top of the community across all the different channels that we have. And we were actually also looking for a business development manager. So if any of you out there have any experience in sales and you are DeFi savvy, you don't actually have to have any hard and fast experience selling in DeFi, right, or running a business development program specifically in DeFi. If you have any sales or BD experience and you're DeFi savvy, and you're looking for new opportunities, please shoot us a line. You can DM us on Twitter. You can send us a message on Discord. It can be, hey, maybe it's Telegram. Whatever it is, reach out to us. We're happy to talk. Okay. But other than that, yeah, that is a high-level snapshot of what we're doing on an operations side.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Mister. So you actually referred to some of the marketing strategy. I wonder if maybe you and if you could maybe lead us off with Squidsteed and talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Squidsteed, yeah, great to have you on here, by the way, sir. You are, you, I think, have a wealth of knowledge built up into you. So we're really excited to have you, contribute from a marketing perspective into the community. And I don't want to steal any of your thunder, but it's been so great to just chat about ideas with you and try to understand how we bring, traditional marketing tactics, which ones we bring and how we bring certain tactics from the traditional marketing world into crypto, into DeFi, into the DeFi space. But without any further ado, Mr. Squidsteed.
Thanks. Appreciate that. Appreciate the intro and certainly happy to be a part of this effort. It's been a really strong group of people, a great group of thinkers. You guys have done a lot of very diligent work so far, and the quality of the product is evidence of the intentionality and the time and effort that you guys have put in. On the marketing front, marketing in crypto is, I came from a TradFi background. I've been working in investments in TradFi for about 15 years and doing number of institutional sales, business development, marketing, in addition to portfolio management, and a decent amount of design and some artistic stuff as well. So kind of knowing about traditional or Web 2 marketing complex and the advertising complex and what that's like, and trying to adapt that to crypto and DeFi has, I'll just say, it's been a learning experience where I've bumped my head many times. And a lot of this has been very confusing as to why some things work and why some things don't work. But there are there are still some tried and true methods that, at least what I've seen to be successful, there are some tried and true pieces of a marketing plan that, that we have to have in place, right? Three factors as I see it have to be in place for any marketing plan to be successful in the DeFi space for yAxis, and that's a plan that's holistic, a plan that's dynamic, and then one where the results are measurable, right? Holistic, dynamic, and measurable. Holistic, I'd just say, is it really has to be all-encompassing and not simply, hey, we're going to buy banner ads and we're going to take a shotgun approach and spend $100,000 or whatever it is, and then sit and wait for people to come in the Discord. That's not a marketing plan. At the same time, even though Twitter is such a huge piece of marketing in crypto, only using Twitter is not a marketing plan. Everyone has their comfort level with these different types of tools, but the approach must be holistic to take into account all the different tools that are available to us at any given time, and then that toolkit has to be combed through. It has to be all those tools have to be assessed for the appropriateness of them for the current community and also the target market for our product, right? And that's not easy in and of itself. It's made even more difficult by the speed at which crypto moves, the speed at which new users come into the Discord and FOMO into trades, and then they move on to the next biggest thing, the next sexiest item on Twitter, right? So given all that, there's significant obstacles, but if the plan's holistic, then you give yourself the best chance of success from the very beginning. And there's a lot of other stuff that goes into that. It's branding, it's knowing your target market, it's knowing your current users, and not only how to bring in new users, but how to keep your current users happy in the hopes that they stay for a long time and they bring new people in, bring referrals, right, and bring additional capital. So all that has to be taken into account. And the thing I would say about yAxis that's been impressive is you guys don't do anything that's not well thought out, right? At yAxis, we don't make a move unless it's been thought out. And then you brought that up earlier as having taken some criticism, maybe as not aped into an idea fast enough, right? And there certainly is that desire for this very fast-moving, trend-following decision-making that happens in crypto. But as you see with charts of DAOs and projects throughout the space, and you see FOMO run-ups and you see spectacular falls from grace in many different products on the chart, you can see why. I mean, that's evidence in itself why a disciplined approach, a methodical approach, an intentional approach is so powerful in the space for a group that's trying to develop themselves into something that's sustainable for the long term. Like, how do you stay in crypto for the long term? That's the question, right? So anyway, we go back to my holistic point, dynamic, meaning that, again, it's a marketing plan is not a one and done. It's not we're going to throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. It's thinking about how are we going to intentionally deploy capital into marketing in a way that makes sense for our target market and the people that are currently with us. And that plan has to be interwoven. It has to be interwoven with our additional building steps, our additional milestones, our roadmap items, right? And sometimes with marketing, given the nature that it's hard to measure the ROI on marketing, persistence is key, right? We have to continue to try. We have to continue to keep our nose to the grindstone, as the saying goes, because sometimes it's not going to look like it's working, right? But persistence in applying that holistic plan is an absolute key. And finally, I just say the measurable aspect. This is tough. Measuring the returns of a marketing plan are certainly tough. But I think that with creativity and understanding the nuances, being able to use the tools we have to use the tools we have to understand the folks in our Discord, understand our voting body, understand the people who buy our product, using the analytics available. We'll do some custom polling for sure of new folks who join us and say, "How did you hear about us? You know, what were the compelling messages that sold you on the story? What are the pieces of the narrative that were most compelling?" So we will do everything we can to make our efforts measurable, right? So, that's just kind of my experience. Again, marketing is it's some art and it's also some science. It's understanding the nuances of how people think, and honestly, understanding how people think in crypto with everything changing so rapidly. We're always chasing the ability to understand a trend. We're always looking over the horizon to try to understand all the new things coming online, all the new protocols, all the new players, all the new changes in regulation, all the market volatility and what that creates. So it's a constant struggle, but I do sincerely believe that groups like yAxis that have the ability to think methodically, apply a disciplined approach, and also apply creativity to that with a very intentional basis, have the biggest chance of success here.
That's amazing, and that's so encouraging to hear, Squid Steed. I think to your point, the holistic angle, right? The holistic aspect of it. The way we're looking at it, I think you touched on it in terms of our target market, right? We're looking at it from a brand perspective as addressing multiple audiences, right? And we're going to try to reach them on the relevant channels. To your point about measurable results, right? The approach is to start a little bit small, right? And test some of these channels, test some of these marketing activations. And to your point about being dynamic, I think we're looking at making sure that we're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. To your point, as we test, as we learn, we'll start to understand what's working and what's not, and we can adjust as we go along. And tying that all back to your holistic point there, Squid Steed, we do see the community as a force multiplier, right? It is very much a community-driven space, right? Sentiment is really almost everything. And to that point, the way we want to do this is rather than just blow dollars out of the window into paid marketing, start small, ramp up, and at every point, use the community through multiple different activations, whether they be contests or bounties, Twitter raids, AMAs. The list goes on and on. We'll use the community we'll lean on the community, I should say, as a force multiplier on our marketing dollars, right? And that approach, I think, is both, for me, gives a really well-structured plan of attack, but it also gives us the most chance of success and gives us that opportunity to test and refine. So all that to say, looking forward to working with you, sir.
All right. Yeah, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, guys. I just want to let you know I have to run off to the next call. But thanks very much for having me on, and look forward to formalizing more of these ideas and getting them in process.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Yeah, I feel a lot smarter in marketing than when I started this call. So thank you, guys. So next up well, next up is my section. So we're talking about the community council. I'll say the number one top thing that we've been spearheading within my council this week is the bylaws and the governance. And so I just wanted to give a little bit of an update on that. I know when we did the YIP that elected what we call the transition council, it was first and foremost with the task of publishing the yAxis bylaws, the official governance that will empower the DAO, that will empower the community, and put into place those checks and balances going forward. And so that currently is about to be delivered as a final draft for the final review through this weekend. It's sitting around 22 pages of excitement, and we'll incorporate any final rounds of feedback, and then sometime next week we're going to put that up for a YIP and for a community vote. So that's coming very soon. In terms of community events, we are going to be ramping up some more game nights, some more community events as far as Twitter contests, and some other fun stuff is planned. One thing we might be looking for soon is some junior moderators as well. So if anyone out there thinks they might be interested, please contact me in Telegram or yAxis Discord, and we can talk. And with that, my section was easy, so I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Abuchino, who is our strategy counsel, who's going to talk a little bit about the project vision, project roadmap, and anything else that maybe he's going to come to his mind.
Thank you. Can you hear me well?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So, I was asked at one point to talk about why I think that yAxis is a leading DeFi protocol and why it's a long-term sustainable project. And apologies in advance, I tend to be a little long-winded. I think in TradFi terms as I navigate the DeFi world, and I may repeat myself, so apologies. But in terms of what made me think, I full disclaimer, I stumbled into yAxis at one point. Someone in my business in TradFi mentioned that there are crazy yields going on in DeFi. So I just jumped into a bunch of protocols, and through selection over time, my focus zeroed in on yAxis and continued to increase both in terms of commitment, both time and capital. When I think of what attracts me to yAxis, it falls under three different buckets. So let's start with the first bucket. Being able to join the council, it's given me a unique window to the team and a peek behind the curtain. And when I look at investments, one of the top things that I look at is leadership and the strength of leadership, the vision, and the ability for leadership to listen and pivot. And that's something that we found in abundance with the yAxis team. So that's one of the first check marks that I found on that front. Two, the diverse skill sets of the team. It's a great team which has a lot of overlap, but at the same time, in that Venn diagram, there's a lot of areas which are not overlapping, and you have basically a team where you have a jack of all trades and master of all as it pertains to many, many different disciplines. And that gives me comfort because you need that sort of diversity and skill set for creativity, for covering all blind spots, and for being able to pivot and understand the ever-changing landscape in DeFi. Another thing that impressed me was the vision of the team, and some of this is hindsight 2020 in terms of their ability to be early to market in concepts. yAxis, the commitment to that one, being one of the early adopters of VE, the VE model is something that's obviously become now a new hallmark in the market, a new cornerstone of what's considered successful or stable or disciplined. And that's something that that we came to very early as a project. And then there are a whole bunch of different things that I admire about the vision of the team. The capital structure approach of the team, that's been great. When you look at all these different protocols out there with infinite coins, with infinite issuance, with profligate spending of tokens, the capital structure discipline that we have in yAxis is definitely a attractive selling point. Discipline in general, as it pertains to a process, as it pertains to tokenomics, as it pertains to any decision being made, even when pre-hybrid DAO or pre-DAO involvement, the level of discipline that we found with the team is something that you look for in a team that's going to lead a project through the good times and the bad. The accounting is very, very important in the TradFi world because it it's a cornerstone for long-term planning, and which is a differentiator in DeFi. The space is littered with great ideas for the next month or two, or riding one wave in one bull market here or there. But the amazing thing is that as I looked more at different projects, the long-term planning was a 2-month and a 3-month and a 6-month plan, and we'll see what happens afterwards. That's never been the case with yAxis, and that's something that I found very attractive. The value proposition of where the token lies in terms of its capped nature, their current valuation, and how it compares to base levels and scenario analysis of revenue. The metricing of yAxis, when looking at it from a startup perspective and a revenue metric, and where it can go at a mature level perspective from a profit metric, there are very low hurdles to beat for the project given its current setup and given its current roadmap and milestones. As Mr. once said when I asked him why, what value can I add, and he said, as it pertains to traditional finance, let's borrow from the best and innovate the rest. And I think that's sort of the humility in DeFi and respect for what's tried and true in other disciplines is something that just shows the nature and the mettle of the team. That's the first section in terms of the vision, which I think is a big driver in a project's probability of success. The other thing was the long-term sustainable nature of the project. Again, bringing back to capital management, the goals the team has for dynamic flexibility as it pertains to capital management, where we are spot, where we plan to be forward, and how we plan to manage all the different sides of the balance sheet is something that you don't see with other projects. And I've been a keen observer of several projects which on principle are interesting, but we're seeing every day in the news that capital management was not at the forefront. And secondly, in terms of long-term sustainability, there's market competitiveness, and I would break that up into two sections. One is the structural, the competitiveness from being a security-based project. Two, we have features such as being ready to market on VE. Three, the management structure and how decisions are being made, the decision process, how everything is fleshed out and thought, and trying to be 3 or 4 or 5 moves ahead. The DAO, the current push rather than the pull by the team in terms of creating a DAO and including the community and including a additional resource from the community to help drive the project. Community management and how that's been completely different. I've always said that I have a very low bandwidth for anything on a phone or in terms of channels and whatnot. And our Discord, just as an example, is exponentially more user friendly than other Discords that I've been on other projects which I've been involved in. The forward planning, and I'm not talking 1 month, 2 months, but 1 year and 2 year forward planning. Structurally has been amazing. The metricing, the goal to metric, the current metricing that the team has, all of these are structural cornerstones of a healthy company project. And last but not least, the community, the passion of the community is structural. It's not cyclical, and that's something that's been tried and true, and it shows in terms of the percentage of yAxis locked up. And pivoting to the cyclical advantages and why this is a long-term sustainable project, it's flexibility and reactiveness, whether it's flexibility on the vault front, on the emissions front, on fees, on excess yields, on ideas, on features. There's the ability to pivot is the number one differentiator for startups or new projects or nascent projects that can make it. And that flexibility is afforded to us by the nimbleness of the team and the project. And I compare it to TradFi, and sometimes things look different when you compare it to the speed of what happens in DeFi, but speed kills more often than it helps, and that's something that we're noticing right now in the news in 15 different ways. And finally, I want to mention the other reason I find this as, that's attracted me to the project is just my confidence in it is underscored, and it's underscored by there are a lot of things look good. Having been, been involved in markets for 24 years now, there's a lot of stuff that doesn't show up, a lot of flaws that don't show up in bull markets, and it's bear markets that really try and test a lot of fads, a lot of trends, a lot of good ideas, and a lot of good ideas that weren't fleshed out. And that's something that I feel that we are advantaged on. We're sometimes not being the sexiest or the splashiest or the highest API 4 digits. It puts us at a disadvantage in certain bull market trends. But when shit hits the fan, and pardon my French, that's when you become differentiated and people realize that there's longevity and stability. The other thing is I have confidence in the runway and the funding plans. They're very low hurdles in terms of what can keep the lights on and keep this project going. And again, in units of time that are double, triple, quadruple what the average DeFi unit of time. I mean, there's some people who measure in epochs of 1 week and 2 week and 3 weeks, and I'm like, that's insane to me. But I find sanity as a TradFi person in this version of DeFi. I have confidence in the bench continuity in terms of the depth of the bench as it pertains to the team and the devs. I have confidence in the valuation, both the value proposition versus the budget versus the revenue. And I finally, and then this is again, some people can say hindsight, the discipline as it pertains to process, the discipline as it pertains to tokenomics, the discipline as it pertains to outreach and involvement. Those were hurdles to us on the margin in a crazy bull market where the extent of our discipline, starting from our obsession with security, those hurdles are now changing from being headwinds to tailwinds. And that pivot from headwind to tailwind is something that we have to become an anchor and a cornerstone of how we push ourselves out and reach out to the market, because a lot of people are hurting out there, as Big Papi said, whether it's just the core market, whether it's altcoins, whether it's crazy tokenomics, whether it's a level of security, team selection, short-term planning versus long-term planning. What was our headwind is now our tailwind. These hurdles have now become our friends, and I think this is a great time in this darkest hour for crypto, or one of the darkest hours for crypto. We're shining, whether people understand that or not. We're shining, and we just need to tell our story. And I'll end there. Sorry for being long-winded.
No, thank you. I just wanted to add, Abu, I think you doxed your age, real quick there, with your time in the industry. I was about to reference and say Doogie Howser started early, but then saying the words Doogie Howser also doxes my age. But go ahead. Yeah, well, right there with you, Doogie, NPH. I'm a big fan. But it's really great to have your insight from the traditional finance world, right? I mean, you are a Wall Street pro, and thank you for the kind words. It really is. Why would we not try to emulate and follow in those tried and true footsteps, right? Because there are pieces that make sense, and there are analogs in our world. We are replicating that world. It's just we tend to maybe sometimes use different words. Maybe it's like they're more memey, right? But the principles are largely the same. So it's been amazing to have you on board, sir. I think your insights and your approaches to understanding, how to put all these ideas into financial models has been super, super helpful. And all that to say, it's really good to have you on the Strategy Council.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, it really has. My IQ just keeps going up the more you guys talk. I love it. My wife will be very happy later.
Yeah, no, the invoice is in the mail. We'll give you a friends and family discount.
Thanks. So for the final council, we're going to be bringing in Mr. Misan, and he is the council representative for Ethereum that I talked about earlier. And Misam, I believe you had some things you wanted to talk about in terms of improving the kind of usability of our platform on Ethereum.
Yeah, thank you, Big Poppy. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Wonderful. First of all, I just wanted to say I'm very excited to be part of the council for this very loved project. Have been there from the very beginning, and as an early investor and an early believer in the project, and now to be able to support it in this new role is an awesome honor that I think that all of us, especially in the council, will be super happy in being able to do, especially with what Mr. was saying earlier, that many of the team and a lot of the people are sourced from the community itself. That adds so much value in any project, because when you are just on the team side or as a developer, you're focused on achieving things and doing things from the angle that you need to deliver the objectives that you have to. And so then a lot of times the end user perspective from the average Joe to an investor gets missed a little bit. So it's really good how our vision is moving forward in that dimension now, that we can technically we have 6 more people on the council that are all new hands ready to help on to whatever the team and the developer is doing, and so that can also give us a lot more room. And as you were saying, Big Poppy, like a lot of the stuff that we're looking at, that we have now segregated into different dimensions where we can look at it and focus on them in a manner where it would have been a little bit longer to alleviate those issues. But you can now immediately empathize with anybody in the community that says, hey, such and such might be better to do it in this way. So now that we have broken down strategies and councils, it can easily fall into the team and, of course, the council to immediately look at it and make it actionable faster, especially because of the empathy that goes into the play that, hey, we were on the other side too, and we know how it feels, and how we can implement these ideas faster. On that note, yeah.
Oh, sorry. So, apologies for jumping in here, but you brought up something I really wanted to touch on for the people listening to this, and I feel this deeply as not just as the community council representative, but as the longtime moderator and longer time member of yAxis, and also just part of the DeFi community. I know how painful using DeFi on Ethereum has been over the past year. We all do. And I want to reiterate that, because you did bring that up, that we have a lot of empathy, sympathy for you guys, because we're also users of these platforms and paying transaction fees, gas fees of like $200, $300. It's not fun. It's not something I want to do. Also, just the general usability of the platform, of the app. We hear you loud and clear. Everything that you guys tell us in the community, every time you guys are talking to me in Discord or somewhere else, and you're like, hey, Poppy, this, I think we could do better on this feature. I think this would look better. I take that back to the devs. I take that back to everyone on this call, and they roll that in and they consider it, and they drop it into the development pipeline. And we absolutely hear you. And so UI UX stuff, obviously big on the list, but also that expansion into the multi-chain with Avalanche. Again, feedback you guys brought to us and said there's got to be a better way to do this, whether it's layer 2, whether it's alternate layer 1s. I want you guys to know that you as the community are driving a lot of this innovation, driving a lot of this direction within the project. So anyways, back to you, Misam. I just wanted to give that plug and a thank you to the community, because feedback is important, and I want to continue to see that. Please, if you think there's a way we can do better, reach out and let me know.
Yeah, no, but Big Poppy, thank you so much for that plug. It was perfect. And as also being part of the community, thank you so much for all the work that you do as a community manager. It's unbelievable. It's just pure passion. And so now, technically, you've got some more help through us to help you actually, help you in and support in that cause, like which can I can lead into a little bit where the Ethereum Council at this moment is also focusing on um, um, related to the UI UX, which is user experience and user interface. So the exciting things that we're kind of focusing on right now, just because we've also seen this on from the end user level of it, is how do we make the project more intuitive? How do we find out from the community and also from our own experiences and from other friends that we might know that are in the project itself, other investors and etc. That are saying that, hey, if we did this way, it would be better, or if we did it this other way, then it would solve this other issue. So there's a lot of creativity out there, but then it just can't. There's no proper channel usually in a normal system for it to actually go anywhere. So we're going to improve our ability to actually receive all the feedback and make it quicker, and then also make it actionable by us having different councils. So it'll give us, we'll all work together in harmony as well for the overall objective of making yAxis great and ideally one of the best DeFi projects. But that said, like for example, just to throw an example, like the adding a help chat box into the area where once your wallet is connected, so that if someone's running into some kind of difficulty, they can immediately get live help. And one of the moderators can jump on and saying, okay, maybe you are doing that wrong, fix this issue. And then also adding maybe things like infographics, which are very made very intuitive, so that it's very easy to do. We don't want anyone to run into obstacles and not know what they're doing. So all these things and these visions coming in from end users and investors that are seeing these issues, and then now putting it into a position where we're coming up. I can't discuss all of them, but great stuff, and all this great stuff not in the form that it's just talk, but it's actually being worked on and made deliverable. And then we will continue to monitor those things and keep looking at any other feedback to make sure that we can improve with a very beautiful, more added feature of being able to improve quicker and faster. So those are a few things that on that side. I think other things that we will also focus on, especially on the Ethereum ecosystem, is how to make it, of course, simpler and ideally what vaults can be added to this and what is beneficial. So just an overall energy where we can all help each other and put our minds together with this expanded version of yAxis and truly, like, bring the real objective home and stay with that objective, which is yAxis's main logo, right? Making DeFi easy. So how do we make sure that while we're doing these amazing things, how do we make it so that for the average end user, this is just plug and play? We'll do the hard work, we'll create the codes, and we'll do all of the stuff in the internal body parts that we need to put together. But onto the end user, it achieves two beautiful goals. One, to make DeFi easy, and of course to be a place where they can absolutely trust that their funds are safe and they're getting a very good value for being part of the project. And I think these are the things that are up and coming, as Abuchino was saying also, and we have a lot of conversations that are going on in the background that you guys don't know, but there's such great stuff on its way and also being done in such a beautiful manner that it's going to be very long lasting. And Poppy, back to you, unless you have any other thoughts.
No, I think you're right. There is a lot on the roadmap that's very spicy and I'm very excited about, and we did cover a lot of it already. Next up on the you heard, we're going to step into the question and answer. And so we asked the community ahead of time for some questions. And the first one off the bat, this one is regarding some of the information aggregate sites like DeFi Pulse, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap. I do want to acknowledge, yes, some of those are displaying the wrong information. Mister, do you know if we have an update in terms of what we're doing to resolve that? I know in some cases it's a matter of just pestering and bugging those guys to fix it on their end. But is there anything else that we have going in terms of resolving that?
Yeah, so it is an ongoing process, and it is really a good chunk of that is kind of out of our control, right? And maybe we can use this as a platform to make an open call to our friends at CoinGecko and CMC. We're really actually liking CMC's dashboard. We have been working with them to update stuff. We have a solution for updating our circulating supply with CMC. We followed their spec and we've deployed the solution, but it's not working correctly. So we're just waiting to get a little bit of support on that one. But we're pushing on CMC. Same with CoinGecko. We have engaged them multiple times. There's just something going on with the way they're pulling in their data through and algorithmically basically calculating our supply. We're not sure, and it is, you can imagine the CoinGecko help desk, right? The support team there is probably just swamped every day, right? Especially coming off the recent bull run where we have projects popping up literally, almost dozens a day. Yeah, that's actually almost not even hyperbole, but it's a matter of getting some time with them to really find the root cause. It's just we don't have the market position really for them to devote that kind of resource to us, right? So we do have some thoughts on how to get those dashboards fixed, but it is an ongoing process. Trust me, that is top of mind, right? If it's top of mind for anybody in the community, please know it's weighing on our shoulders every day. So we are trying to get that weight off our shoulders. It is a process, though.
Thank you. Yeah, if anyone in the audience that's listening has any connections at either of those organizations, please reach out to me. So the next question is talking about layer 2, and they're talking about really just the cost of transacting, the cost of, for small investors. And before I kick that one over to you, I do want to stress that when we looked at the issue of scaling, we prioritized going cross-chain. We prioritized going to Avalanche strategically, just looking at the growth that Avalanche has, and actually how well it's doing as an alternate chain to Ethereum. And this is just my personal opinion. I'm not a professional, smart contract engineer of any sort, but I do see a lot of good stuff about Avalanche. For example, I believe this was just yesterday, they reported 1.1 million transactions, which is about 96% of what Ethereum saw on the same day. Except for on Avalanche, those gas fees were 23 cents on average versus $62 on Ethereum. Now, of course, you got to adjust considering Ethereum is worth more than Avalanche, but in any case, it is proving to be a very successful platform. And so we prioritize moving to Avalanche, and that will be your first opportunity to transact with yAxis in a cost-effective manner. And then, Mister, in terms of Ethereum layer 2 scaling, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, in terms of scaling on L2s and even on alternate L1s, we want to be really mindful because this all really does come down to our approach to capital management, right? And capital management, again, just to say again, is not just the cash on hand, but it is our lifeblood. It is our native token. It is yAxis, right? And one of the challenges on just scaling big right out the gate is we're going to have to spend a lot, right, to not only develop and deploy, but also to incentivize some of these various things that we need to incentivize, anything from NLP to, sprinkling a little yAxis on top of the yields into the vaults to make our APYs a little juicier to track that TVL. These are all, that's just a sample of some of the considerations on capital requirements in order to scale onto alternative L1s or L2s. So we're being really mindful with that, and we do have our sights set on, maybe I shouldn't give the alpha right now, but we do have a couple other chains defined as potential targets for our next moves. But really right now we are super excited for Avalanche, just because, as I said at the top of the call, there is a lot of opportunity out there. And what you want to do in a time of, for example, in a bear market, right, in a downturn like we're in now, and we are fortunate to be able to be in a place where we can continue to deliver, right, during this down market. What you really want to do is focus on two things, which is your capital management and really being mindful about what kind of runway and what kind of runway impact you might be incurring on yourself by spending right now. And the other thing is we do want to be testing first, right? The great thing about Avalanche is it is one of the easiest chains to deploy on, because they are EVM, because the code does largely work with a few small tweaks. Well, I shouldn't say small, right? The devs work really hard on it. But to my understanding, from the way they talk about it, it isn't that much of a big lift, right? So it is easier to deploy on Avalanche. But certainly the lack of any real gas fees, transaction costs, does allow us to test faster and at scale on Avalanche. So our scale plan for multi-chain is essentially to really iterate on Avalanche, because it is basically free testing, right? Versus, take for example, a contract deployment on ETH mainnet is in the handful of thousands, if not five figures, in terms of USD cost, and that's just not sustained. There's no way we can test at scale without burning through some serious funds just to play around and test. So the way we're looking at really our scale strategy is to use use Avalanche as our proving grounds of sorts, right? Test the new ideas that are developed there, bring that back to Ethereum mainnet, and use all those insights and learnings to really continue to drive revenue generation. And with revenue generation, we do have, we've modeled out multiple different scenarios. We understand what our burn rate is baseline, what we need for marketing, and what we need for partnerships. We do understand when we can start to flip the switch and go revenue positive. At that point, that's when we start to consider scaling out to these other chains, really, right? All that to say, maybe that was a little long-winded path for me to basically say this. Our plan is to scale on multiple chains, but we need to make sure that we have the funds and we have a reasonable runway to give ourselves time to succeed on that scale plan, right? We can scale right now, no problem, right? But then it is a gamble, because we are cutting our runway short in order to, for example, test these other chains. So we're going to test first. We're going to go on Avalanche and bring all that insight back to Ethereum mainnet, and back from Ethereum mainnet, we are going to be scaling up to deploy our core V3 architecture on other chains. But again, that is a stretch goal. We are removing the immediate term friction of transaction costs on Ethereum. We are removing that through Avalanche imminently. So we do have, we are going to be in a good place in terms of supporting a really good frictionless user experience. And then we keep doing that. It's a rinse and repeat kind of model across multiple channels. I hope that answers your question. I hope that answers the question.
No, I think it does. I think that was a very thorough answer, sir.
Yeah, sorry, I took a lot of words there.
No, it's good. That's good. I think the guys listening to this and the ladies listening to this later on the recording are going to be very pleased. They'll also be able to skip through. If there's any parts where we get too long-winded, you guys are just going to be able to hit fast forward. So next question is really been answered by you. Someone was asking about going multi-chain, and yeah, and actually, it's almost like you wrote this question. They're talking about how there's opportunity during a bear market, especially for projects like us, where people are looking to park stuff like stable coins and just do yield farming versus trading or holding on to particular tokens or coins. So next question. When the launch on
Can I
sure.
just jump in right there? Actually,
Yeah.
you mentioned an interesting point about. I think you said something about yield farming versus trading, right? In a bear market.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, I have a thought on that, right? And I think it's again, we're really fortunate to be in a place where we can continue to deliver in this environment. But I think it speaks to really one of our key value propositions that I think we haven't talked about, right? Because there, to be honest, hasn't been a need to talk about it because it was up only for a while there, right? But think about what we offer. We are a revenue generating, yield delivering protocol that doesn't require you to sell your assets in order to earn against them. So in a bear market, that presents a significant opportunity to everyone, not just institutional, not just high net worth individuals. It does also present a great opportunity to retail investors because if you are exposed to this volatility and you're looking to get out, just as one use case here, we see a lot of folks rotating into stablecoins. Let's put aside the multiple stablecoin issues and narratives that are out there right now, but as just an example, you maybe are no longer happy with the volatility, or you can't stomach the volatility on BTC. There's nothing wrong with that. So in that case, maybe somebody would rotate into stables. Well, why lose out on the opportunity to earn against your stables, right? We say, bring those stables to us, right? Bring that into our stablecoin vault. Let us earn against that for you to not only grow your principal and auto compound it to get those juicy extra APY points, but also get the rewards in our native yAxis token. I think that presents a really, really compelling use case for our core V3 product, right? You don't have to sell your assets. You can come earn your assets in our vaults, earn with your assets deposited into our vaults, or if you do want to rotate out, that's why we have a USD vault, right? So that investors can rotate out, right? Mitigate the risk of any more volatility, but still be exposed to yield, right, on their stablecoin. So I guess that was a little bit self-serving there. Sorry, but I did want to. That just kind of put the light bulb in my head. It's kind of an old key value proposition. It's an old message that we haven't really talked about again much in the recent past, but we should be talking about that more. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm. No, we absolutely should. And I think as we get closer to launching that borrow feature, maybe we can do a special you heard focused on some of the services and opportunities that would bring to any investors.
Yeah, totally. Just without getting too much into it, and I'll shut up after this, but I'll leave it at this. Just think about the potential, the fact that we have a stablecoin vault. If we do have a stablecoin collateralized borrowing feature, there's a lot of opportunity there. I'll leave it on one word, looping, but yeah.
Their advanced DeFi tactics, sir. I'm
Yes, sir.
looking forward to that. It's going to be very exciting when that comes out. So for the next question, and this is your number one favorite question, and I know you're not going to have a very specific answer, but I'm still going to ask it because people will beat me up if I don't. When launch on Avalanche?
Oh man, it's when launch. At least it's not when moon. So yeah, let's talk about that for a second. So again, the immediate term, right? sometime next week, we are going to be hitting our next milestone, which is our new vaults on Ethereum mainnet. As far as the Avalanche launch, we're so close. We could actually launch that right afterwards, but we're going to hold on to it a little bit to give us some time to test the market in terms of our marketing spend, what's working, what's not. Just understand what our TVL thresholds need to be. But as soon as we're ready and we have all the information we need, I can give a broad target of February is the target for Avalanche.
All right. I'm going to hold you to that one, sir.
Okay. I'll hold myself too.
All right. So just a couple more questions. I know we're a little bit over the hour. And for everyone that's listening in, thank you for hanging in there. So this one is, this is more of a personal question. So it's really answer how you like. Which strategy? So if you were going to invest into a yAxis vault, which one's your favorite one, sir? And this is directed to Mr. Mister.
Oh, this is for me. I mean, it's the USD vault for me. It's either the USD vault or the BTC. But so for me personally, it would be USD and the BTC vault. For me, as the guy that is looking at revenue potential, right? It's very much the USD vault, and as well as the Ethereum vault. But yeah, there's personal me, and then there's team me. So I kind of have two different answers for you on that one.
Yeah, and I'm kind of torn. I feel like I have to respect the king in the space. I feel like Bitcoin deserves some love, right? I'm gonna start pushing my votes towards Bitcoin. Granddaddy needs a little help getting his price back up, right? But also Ethereum, you got to respect. So I'm curious for the other guys on the call. Misam, which vault do you prefer, sir? I know I caught you off guard.
I would say Ethereum, obviously.
Good call. Yeah. And what about you, Abu?
100% dollar vault. 100% dollar vault. And that's pure from a strategy perspective. It's highest base yield out of all our vaults for now until we introduce other vaults. But in the cross section of high base yields, liquidity, longevity in bear markets, which it means it's a good foundational vault. All three of those intersect at the dollar vault, which is stickiness and longevity and high revenue for the project. So 100% dollar vault.
I love it. I love how strategic Abu's answer was there. Again, I learned so much on these calls, but I'm not going to
on the strategy council. That's incredible.
It's almost, yes, and but I'm not going to change my answer. I think Bitcoin deserves more respect. All right, so the next question, bridging. This is actually a really good one. Bridging the yAxis from Ethereum to Avalanche. Is that something you can talk a little bit about, Mr. Mister, in terms of how that might work?
Yeah, I think just to be clear, all that is ready. We're code complete on that at this point, right? The bridge is standing by. We have it stood up. We've had to make some decisions as far as balancing our capital management with providing a good user experience. And just in gaming that out, it doesn't make sense to not have a bridge. It's certainly also to kind of maybe go a little bit outside the scope of this question. It also doesn't make sense for us to not have the ability to allow folks to buy yAxis right natively on Avalanche. So to that point, yes, the bridge is there, standing by, ready to activate. Again, we are gonna slow roll it a little bit, not so much that people might just lose patience and hopefully not bail, but enough so that we are in a strong position to launch. But at that point, we do want to make sure that we do have an LP out on Avalanche, right? Not going to say where we're going to place our LP just yet. I think that's a little too much alpha for right now, but all eyes, all focus is on user experience, as with the balance of ensuring that we do have a really mindful and considered capital expenditure approach to everything we do, which includes how we deploy on Avalanche. But yep, the user experience there should be great.
No, thank you, Mr. Mister. So that actually brings us to the end of the questions that I've collected from the community. So at this point, I'm going to say thank you and then pass it back to you, sir. I think maybe if you want to send us off.
Yeah, just a big thank you to everybody that's listening on the call. Thanks for sticking with us. We know it ran long. We'll do a little bit shorter. We'll certainly do shorter next time, right? This was just kind of the kickoff to, bringing your herd back. We are not sure if we're going to be doing it weekly or bi-weekly, but it will be regular following this call. So please stay tuned for updates. Please find us on Discord, find us on Telegram, on Twitter. You're on Twitter right now. Please hit that follow button. And we look forward to seeing you. Thanks for joining, y'all. Happy Friday.